The entire people of God to be on a journey together with its member, playing his or her crucial role, united with each other. Kaya naman paglalakaton, burun yung kita yung paglalakaton, tipakain, tipakatto, ang hinalian ng Diyos. Miss Nani si Tumanda, Hermana Tumanda. The citation goes, Sir Santo Niño de Anibong Chapel presents this plaque of appreciation to, in honor of her unwavering zeal and dedication as the Hermana Mayor 2024 of the Senior Santo Niño de Anibong Chapel Annual Cathedral Fiesta. Given this 10th day of July 2024, Sir Santo Niño Anibong Chapel, Global City, Philippines, signed Nita Sendero, Vice Chairperson, and Paris Priest, yours truly. Miss Nani Gallardo Tumanda.
Hello everyone. Hello to our parish priest, presider for today's celebration, Reverend Father Ronnie Sotico Mora, our Hermana Mayores for this year's Fiesta celebration, Miss Lani Tumanda, Mrs. Alma Lorena Otik, Mrs. Alma Lisa Ladera, and Miss Roberta Erlinita Mari Parga. To the members of the Anibong Chapel Pastoral Council, led by Ms. Nita Sendero, our lectors, the members of our choir, our dear parishioners, maupay nga aga haaton nga tanan. I understand that most, if not all of you, are wondering why none of the four beautiful hermanas chose to share their message of gratitude for this year's fiesta. I also had the same question a few months back when they first asked me to speak on their behalf. And you know what? They all had one reason. Kay bangin magtinuog lang kami kung saan kami mag-speech. So I took on the role of communicating their words of gratitude to everyone who made this celebration a success. But before that, let me just give you a brief background about myself, because I know that this is not a familiar face in this chapel. So I am the daughter of Miss Alma Lisa Ladera. I spent years staying in Cebu. That's where I studied, and now slowly building my career as a young lawyer. However, I have fond memories in this chapel growing up, As a child, I remember joining my late Nanay Alice Tumanda, who devoted a big part of her life in serving God. And as a teenager, while I was still in Sacred Heart School. As mentioned by Father earlier, it's a bittersweet reality na nagtitikabuti na kabataan ni Anibong. And as I noticed, the chapel aged together with the people who attended Mass. So nagtitikalagas na natin mga Mass goers. And it's nice and at the same time a bittersweet reality because hopefully in the future more members of the youth would take active participation in the chapel's initiatives. So when I asked the hermanas, my mama and my aunties, ano yung main project for this year's fiesta? I was happy to hear that it is to renovate the altar of our chapel. So I want us to take a moment to appreciate our newly renovated altar. It stands as a testament of our collective faith, dedication, and the spirit of our community. I hope that this altar will serve as a sacred space for our parish for many years to come. May it serve as a symbol of our unity and our devotion to God. So before I proceed with my official thank yous, let us first give a round of applause to these four ladies right here who spent sleepless months just to raise the funds to make this project a reality. It's funny because right when they thought na Laspada na daw Panangke was na fiesta, a new problem comes up. Just yesterday, in the midst of their fluvial procession, nabuko alira balukong ang sasakyan while they were praying. It's funny because when my mom sent me the video, they were panicking, but at the same time, they were still praying the rosary. Somehow, that reminds us the reality of our life. We come to church to pray, we ask God for something, only to realize that He hasn't responded to our prayers, as what Father shared earlier in his homily. Sometimes we feel like, gilulungos-lugod kita ng problema at Ginoo. But instead of thinking negatively, I hope we make this day a reminder that what appears to be God's temporary rejections are actually not His denials, but His redirection. Perhaps, as what Father earlier mentioned, you're not yet ready to receive God's grace. So even if it seems like the waiting is too long, remember, especially to the young ones who are here today, that God's timing is never too early or never too late. It is always on time. And speaking of timing, today is the perfect time for our hermanas to give back to their community. And this is also the perfect time for me to be an instrument of gratitude, of God's goodness in our lives and in the lives of people we love. So as we celebrate, not just the fiesta of Señor Santo Niño, but also the unwavering spirit and generosity of our community, allow me to thank the following people. First, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our parish Father Mora, whose guidance and faith have been the cornerstone of this celebration. Father, your leadership has inspired us to keep our spirits high even when we face challenges. To the members of the Anibong Parish Pastoral Council, your dedication and hard work, not just during the fiesta season, but even during ordinary Sundays, have been remarkable. To our sponsors, benefactors, and volunteers, words cannot express the depth of our gratitude. Your generosity has made the impossible possible. To everyone who are present in today's Eucharistic celebration, despite the difficulties and unforeseen problems we encountered, your unwavering support ensured the success of this event. I would like to thank the following people, specifically, Mr. and Mrs. Brian Tumanda, Mrs. Sherilyn Ang C., Ms. Tita Superable, Mr. J.P. De Los Reyes, Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Minor, Ms. Angelique J. Tumanda, Mrs. Eileen Dualio, Engineer Ramon Herrado, Mr. Arthur Sabalino, Ms. Kendall Gayrama, Mrs. Deborah Abuenas, Mr. Melvin Bismanas, Mrs. Michelle Catibon Fabian, Mrs. Rowan Delgado, Honorable Marilo Mendoza, Ms. Annalisa Comne, Engineer and Mrs. Dante Macabenta, Ms. Claire Dayan Tumanda, Ms. Roxanne Peregrino, Mr. and Mrs. Arian Ortega, Mr. and Mrs. Ben Paglinawan, Mr. Edgar Advincula, Mr. and Mrs. Arnold Jansen Batugan, Mr. and Mrs. Lester Sumampong, Mr. and Mrs. Rennie Tayong, Mr. and Mrs. Romeo Lacasa, Dr. Maria Belia Oposa, Ms. Vilma Libasana, Ms. Annabel Tumanda, Ms. Angeline M. Panganiban, Ms. Jennifer Tambay, Mr. Don Paris and family, and the Baba Tugan family. Magutom na? Let me end my message with a favorite quote from St. Therese of Lisieux, and I think which is relevant to the Holy Father. Spend your heaven by doing good on earth. Spend your heaven by doing good on earth. Dili mo kinahanglan maging milyonaryo, a professional, or palto para magbuhat inuupay na buhay. Because in the eyes of God, every small act of kindness goes a long way. Once again, thank you all for your contributions, your time, and your prayers. Together, we have turned challenges into triumphs and made this celebration a resounding success. May God and Señor Santo Niño bless you all abundantly. Viva Señor Santo Niño!
Viva Señor Santo Niño!
Viva Señor Santo Niño!
Viva Señor Santo Niño!
Viva Señor Santo Niño!